we are very happy that Nille could join us. She's the founder of B Corp movement in Nordics and country partner, representing Nordics in the B Lab Europe organization. Managing the meeting today will be Marina Nart. She runs a project called Beyond 2030, and she's also community lead for Startup Grind Stockholm. Welcome also to Alejandro, Charlotte, and Suar. These are the three featured startups, and they'll be talking about their journey in this space. So we're very happy for all of you to be here. And what happened here? Yeah. What we advise to everyone joining Startup Grind events is to use chat functions to ask questions from us. If there are any questions, any queries you have for the startups who are here, or for Nille, or for Marina, or Startup Grind, you can all ask all of those here. In addition, we recommend that you put your LinkedIn profile, a link to your startup in the chat so that everybody gets to know you. Okay, we can do that. A little bit about Startup Grind. We are the world's largest community of startup founders, innovators, and creators and change makers. We do a lot of events, actually thousands of events every year. We just wrapped up our Europe conference a few days ago. You can find most of our material through fireside chats, workshops on several online channels. So if you go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you can find all about Startup Grind. Especially on YouTube, you'll find our long format event videos. Of course, this video will be going to YouTube as well after today's event. We often get a question on how big is Startup Grind. We are 3.5 million change makers, entrepreneurs, innovators, startups, however we name it, connected across more than 600 chapters across the world. And we live by a set of values. We believe in making friends, not contacts, in giving first, and we want to make your startup journey less lonely, more connected, and more memorable. So that's what Startup Grind is here for. We'll soon be opening up our community. Those plans are in progress right now. So team is having a lot of meetings in the last few weeks, and we'll share some news in coming weeks on how the community will be opening up. But if you want to find out more about Startup Grind Stockholm, you can go to startupgrind.com/Stockholm, find your local community there. Couple of interesting events coming up after today's event. We have a pitching preparation event for all the amazing startups in our community. We know that you'll be going out pitching for investors right after summer. So we have gathered the top minds in pitching who will be here. We have Livia joining in from Antler. Joseph is joining in from a startup called VAM, which is a video-based platform. Melinda will be joining us from Fast Track Malmo, plus she runs a program called Startup Action, which is an online accelerator. And Tatiana will be joining us from Inventure VC. And then in September, we have a keynote fireside chat happening with the CEO of Microsoft Sweden, and we'll be talking about paradigm shift. So I think this will be a very interesting event for everybody to join in. You can find details about our past events. For example, we had a very interesting session on regenerative business models with Adio Risi, who is the global CEO of VC Lab and Founder Institute. So all these interesting events, videos are available. Couple of last slides. A big thank you to our partners for making this happen. Thank you, Companion, Devrel Events, Brim, Make Trade, and Sweden on the Go. You guys are awesome. And thanks a lot to our local Startup Grind community. A big warm welcome to Vinod, who has just joined us this week. Vinod, welcome aboard. And I'll leave here the discussion to Marina. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Marina, you can take it over now. Yeah.
Yes, you will hear the sound of people being admitted. Sorry about that. Welcome, everyone. It's so great that you made it to this very interesting workshop. I would like to maybe just share some slides so that I can walk you through a couple of things without overwhelming you. I am now sharing screen. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. I will take about 5 minutes to just, lend us and set the purpose and intention and a bit of context so that you understand why we were so excited and keen to do this. Because as you know, we're trying to make your startup journey the best possible. And I thought that you must hear about what is happening with the B Corp world. So yes, let's dive into it. So as you know, my name is Marina, and I've spent the last 10 years really working with taking the sense of sustainability out of from the academia into the business ecosystem. And I have so mainly what I'm trying to do is to explain to people that this is how we work with sustainability right now. We see it as three pillars, you know, as three things that we can balance between, but really there is only one way, which is reality, and we need to get into that mindset in the future. And that means that we need to understand that our economic system only and our society completely depends on the well-being of the planet's own ecosystem. And that means that we need to get our economy, transform our economy and society in order to adjust our perspective to reality. We built the old system from the Industrial Revolution, and we spent 300 years mastering it. It brought us amazing things, but now it's time to challenge it and go to the next level into what is it to be a human being on this planet. Really, what it means from a startup perspective or from a unit perspective for a business, it means that traditional businesses had sustainability as a norm for the past 15 years, but now we want sustainability to be at the core, not because it's a wish, but because it's a necessity. So this is what we're talking about right now. Just for you to know a little bit about me, I have an academic background on the science of sustainability from Lund University, and I've also studied at Stockholm Resilience Center. You might recognize these names. I've also done some research at the Institute of Ecological Economy Research in Heidelberg, Germany, and also at Uppsala University, which you might know. And I'm currently the founder of the Beyond 2030 Project, which is an approach to sustainability and to the SDGs. So I'm a fellow entrepreneur, and I am a consultant and a sustainability strategist and consultant, and I'm also a guest lecturer at KTH in Stockholm on sustainability science for the master program in sustainable urban planning and design. So that I help cities understand how can they contribute to sustainable development, and how can business contribute to city planning. And so this is mainly how it's been feeling for the past 8 years until the Greta movement, which I think really changed things. And now I got B Leader certified myself a few months back, let's say half a year back. And so I would like to share what I've experienced, because I've been in the sustainability movement for a long time. But when I met the B Corp as a community, everything started making more sense to me, and hope was brought back to the picture. Because when you talk science, there is not much hope. It feels like that at times, especially with climate change and biodiversity loss looming. But founding this community was really a turning point for me, and I hope it can be that for you. So yes, so the purpose of today is to have a B Corp masterclass, but we have an approach which is interactive. So we will go into breakout rooms. As of course, it's up to you how much you participate. Feel free to stay silent if you don't want to and just listen in. That's absolutely fine. Feel free to leave at any time. That's completely up to you. But we would like it to be interactive, and mainly we will use the tool of storytelling. So we would like to help you to learn all you need to learn about B Corps in a way that is relevant to you in your startup or business journey. So we use storytelling for that, and we have a technique to do that, which I will explain later before starting the workshop. So hopefully this can be a fun, interactive learning experience that doesn't require a lot of, learning a lot of technicalities, so you feel like you get everything, but in a way that already makes sense for you. And hopefully you also get to meet the other amazing people in our community, and the startup founders, of course, and whoever might be there joining us today that is not an entrepreneur. Everybody's welcome. So as you know, business ecosystems are transforming. Now I will skip very fast the slide, but if we imagine the business ecosystem being like a coral reef, as you know, are very sensitive to change. And what can happen is that, especially for table corals, it can be very transformation can really kill entire ecosystems. And if we imagine this as a business ecosystem, then we've seen in the past that small changes in policies or in values, in perception, or new trends can really transform things. So that is why we want to become resilient and understand how can we thrive and be in line with the trends and and be in the right ecosystem for our startup from the beginning. So that's what we're here to do today, because during transformation, adaptation doesn't guarantee survival. You need the right DNA to thrive and survive. So now I will pass the word on to Nille, because I believe that the B Corp are an ecosystem on their own. They are an emerging ecosystem, and we know that when things reach a tipping point, they become, they exponentially grow. So I would like you to know that this is happening, and I would like Nille to walk us through and tell us what is the B Corp movement and why should we care about as startups, and then we can hear from our amazing startup founders. How did B Corp cross your path, and why did you decide to invest in it? Because you are the first in your own country. So we have Denmark, Norway, and Sweden represented, and you're the very first startup ever to become B Corp certified. So that's amazing, because it's an investment, it's a huge risk. And I'm really curious to know why you did that and what it brought to you and everything, so that everybody can relate to their own journey and see, does this make sense for me too? Should I jump on this in this community? Is it my tribe? And so on. So thank you very much for listening. I will now pass the word to Nille. But first, I will introduce you. Nille is the co-founder and partner of the Danish agency called Merck, which is also, of course, a certified B Corp. She brings 20 years of experience in consulting, in system change and transformative business development and movement making. So, yeah, B Corp is also a movement, so she's an expert in that. Yeah, so I will pass you on the ball, Nille, and I will start sharing slides for you. So we will then go into the interactive moment, and then you can ask all your questions later on. So sorry for being just trying to be as fast as possible.
Thank you very much, both Namula and Marina for having me here today. It's such a pleasure. This is, I don't know for you, but for me, it's a very sort of last. The bags are packed. We're leaving a little bit later today, so everything is ready for that. But it was too good an opportunity to pass on, to be able to come here and be with you. And I jump to any occasion I can, then to be in companies of startups and founders and entrepreneurs, because I really have so high hopes in your ability to help us form and shape the DNA of business. You're all thinking about designing what I call impact business models. You're solving some of the societal challenges that we're facing, and I really wish also that if I can have one summer wish, that you're thinking about joining the movement in whichever way suits you, and help us reshape the imperatives of an economic system that is built on inclusive, equitable, regenerative values. Just like you were saying, Marina, I think this systems change is becoming more and more important, and all our companies and startups, they're prototypes of new businesses that work in different ways, that have fundamentally different contracts with society, that use business in a different way. They are using it for good, but not just for good. They're reshaping the way that we are delivering value, and that we're thinking about value, and that we are growing the future that we want to be living in. So I started my own B Corp story. Well, you said 20 years of experience makes my hair is even more gray, but in 2016, I certified my own company as the first B Corp here in the Nordics. And that's a long time ago. And I've, or at least sort of when you look at what is happening at the moment, and I was the crazy person dancing. You know, when you start a movement, you always have someone dancing over there and being the only one, and that's not so difficult, actually, if you're sort of ready to be laughed at and scolded and all kinds of things. Because to me, that's the second one who goes and joins the movement, or the third or the fourth, those brave people, and Alejandro, who is here from Cafe Bueno, was one of the very first to sort of reply to that call to action and say, hey, come here. And I think that is so important that well, I'm going to try and share with you why that actually happened, and why we need to think about the role of business. I have to warn you also, business to me only has a right to exist if it helps society flourish. That's your 3 circles from before, Marina. And that perspective, we were very alone with that when we started the B Corp movement. It was a provocation. Well, we exist to make money. And I'm like, yes, of course we exist to make money, but we have to consider our impact in the way that we're also using business to create more impact. And I think that if you look at what is happening right now, everyone is claiming that the purpose of the corporation must change. We need new manifestos. Capitalism needs a reset. And I think these are the contours of a paradigm shift. And B Corps are the true pioneers of that. They have actually made that possible. They have showcased that you can do business in a different way. You can be in business in a different way. And they're changing the rule of the game. They're redefining the role of business in society. And I hope that that is what, if you leave with one thing, that is what I hope to be able to convey to you today. So I want to give you just a sneak peek into the B Corp movement from more the system change perspective. There are many stories we can tell, but from the systems change perspective, I wanted to talk to you about the genesis, why we're here, the vision, theory of change, and why is it worth all the blood, sweat, and tears. And then I'm really grateful to have not 1, not 2, but 3 B Corps, and both Sua and Alejandro and Charlotte are societal entrepreneurs. They've built really strong impact business models. They are solving challenges that society really needs solved. And they also have in common that desire, not just to do that for themselves, but also to start changing the DNA of business and sort of spreading that movement that we need to see. And I'm confident that they will inspire your next step. So yeah, if you might change the slide, that's perfect, Marina. Because let's get started. What is B Corp? And I get asked that question very often. So if I can get the next slide, Marina, then I'm really happy. If it works, and if it doesn't, then I'll just speak.
Great.
They are perfect. The very short version of what B Corp is B stands for benefits. And it's first and foremost a movement of companies that believes in business as a force for good. And I say a movement because often people start saying, oh, is it a certification? It is a movement, but it is a movement of business leaders who goes through a certification of 250 questions. And they're looking into social, environmental performances. And they're sort of assessing not just a little bit of your company, but the entire company, and looking into how do you create impact. But it isn't just a certification. It isn't just a movement. It's also a legal declaration to serve all the stakeholders, and you're actually promising as a B Corp to deliver significant positive impact for people and the planet. So it's not just a question of being good company, it's also a question of changing the whole purpose, the whole fundamental purpose, the legal purpose of the corporation. And that is quite controversial at the moment, not for you maybe because you're sort of starting something new, but to the established business, this is a very controversial issue. And then the B Corps are also, as a fourth thing, signing a declaration of interdependence, and that sort of moral obligation to run your business, respecting that we're all interconnected, we're depending on each other, responsible for each other, and we're also responsible for future generations, and we're committing to acting with that understanding. That's a whole different sort of governing logic or value in company. And if you look at the whole genesis of the B Corp movement, it is entrepreneurial. It is the commitment of business society to be good business. And it actually started by 3 entrepreneurs 15 years ago, yesterday, I think it was, who had created a great company. Looks much like the B Corps we have today. And what do you do if you're an entrepreneur? You create a great company, it's successful, well, then you sell it and you see someone else peeling off all the things that you consider to be really important, and that hurts very much. I don't know if any one of you have sold companies, but it's for me at least, a traumatic experience looking at what happens when you do so. And then they saw how easy it was to peel off all the good things, and they thought this is the moment of realizations. Companies are not working for everyone's benefit; they're working primarily to serve the shareholders, and it has massive unintended consequences to the society and the world. And I think that's the starting point, the genesis of the B Corp movement's perception of what is wrong with the world. The way that the legal economic system is designed and the business culture and the main narrative about business is conveyed, the storytelling, as you say, Marina, and the way that business currently operates, it leads to structural, social, environmental, legal inequality, environmental degradation, resource extraction, and also very, very importantly, and we don't talk so much about that in the Nordics, decline in individual well-being, loss of social cohesion, a lot of social elements also. And that is exactly what the B Corp movement is here to change. So in the next one, Marina, our change ambition is to shift our mindset from a business that operates within the boundaries of firm to an extended duty of care, activating the power of business to solve some of the world's most pressing challenges, and also accelerating the transition to a regenerative economy, which can be summed up in the B Corp vision of together we can create an inclusive, equitable, regenerative economic system for all people on the planet. That is what we are here to do. Until recently, as I said, we were a little bit alone with that, but now the B Corp movement is growing rapidly. There are more than 4,000 B Corps, 153 industries and 77 countries. I think, Marina, on my next slide is sort of the stats. Well, in the big picture of 125 million companies, that's a small drop in the ocean, but still it covers globally with 77 countries and a lot of different industries. You know, probably some of the iconic companies on the next slides: Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, the Turin Company, most recently the Italian coffee giant Illy was certified. These are big companies. They're innovative game changers. Lemonade, we transferred the Danish Too Good To Go, a lot of startups. And I think with more than 650 of these B Corps in Europe, it's a movement that starts to be important enough to be reckoned with. And if I zoom into the Nordics and say, hey, what about us? As I said, the first B Corp was certified in 2016. There are 40 B Corps now. I think the next one certified is going to be number 40. And they cover all types of sizes and industries, service to agriculture. The biggest one is 1 billion Danish kroner in turnover. The smallest one is 100,000-ish, something like that. So very small, very big. They are owned by all types of owners. Some of them are founder-owned, some of them are VC, some of them, one of them is even listed. It's the first Nordic company that's listed on First North. So it covers all types of ownership, all types of industries, all types of sizes, and some of them are very young, pending B Corps, less than a year of existence. Some of them are 40 plus old ladies in legacy industries. So I think that's a confirmation of the universal appeal of the B Corps, and it's interesting to follow. We have 40 more in the pipeline of certification at the moment. So if we could only certify a little bit faster, we would be doubling our number this year, which is back to your exponential development, Marina. I think we're hitting a point here where it's starting to become something interesting. So if I sort of from that zoom into, okay, what's so special about these B Corps, then I see three main questions that the B Corp leaders are asking themselves over and over. And they are, why are we in business? Who are we serving? And how do we conduct our business? And I think most companies, yourself included, ask those questions all the time. Why are we in business? Who are we serving? How do we conduct our business? But the answers that I'm getting from the B Corps are a little bit different than the ones that I get from a lot of other companies, because they always use business as a lever for progressive social change. They question the why. They are here on a societal mission. They have chosen what is wrong with the world that they want to fix. So that's sort of number one. And then they start building impact business models. So they use the market model to make their vision of the world come true. And that's a really big shift in the mindset from being extractive to regenerative, in the terms of saying, how much financial value can I extract from a business, onto how much value for the world can I build into every single aspect of the business model. And it becomes very interesting. And I know some of your companies a little better, Alejandro, Café Bueno very well, seeing how you, in the course of your development journey, shifted from one impact business model to another one, and dramatically changing the potential positive impact that you have on the world. And that's really interesting to follow from a business development perspective. Then they start creating and accounting for stakeholder value. So challenging that whole shareholder primacy and also having a broader sense of responsibility. They insist on creating value everywhere for everyone, and they measure it. They measure that value with as much rigor as they measure the financials. And I think sometimes I get asked, is it worth it, and certification, etc. But there is something really sort of challenging in starting to measure with as much rigor as the financials, so you actually have something you can follow and you can start competing on being best for the world. And then they commit legally to incorporating this into their bylaws. They are extending the duty of care of the company, and that makes the board responsible in a different way. And it's a really important element also in when you start looking for capital. Who is it that you're attracting? What is it that you're committing yourself to legally? And what should be the contract with whomever is investing in your company? And then the last thing, they sign this, and I think it's become even more obvious with COVID, they signed the Declaration of Interdependence, which is, for me, the driver for innovation and development in the value chain. You can see that when you start sort of caring for up and downstream in your value system, and suddenly new elements emerge, new possibilities, new things emerge from who you are. So that's what sets them apart. And if then, of course, one of you is going to ask me, well, what's the value? Is it worth it? It costs a lot, especially in time and resources. It is not that expensive in dollars, but it's really expensive in valuable time and resources. And I think that the business case, if I should sum all that up, Marina, into the business case of B Corp, I think I have a couple of slides on that one. Well, the first thing is that it is exactly what sets the B Corps apart. I think that is the true business value. It is not about compliance. It's not about sort of complying to certification. It is also certification, but the genesis is entrepreneurial. It is about the DNA of the company. It's about respecting interdependence, redefining our role in society. And sometimes the founder of the B Corp movement in Europe, Matteo Palazzi, he teases us and he says there should be a money-back guarantee, Nille, for certification, because being part of the B Corp movement should always create business value. And I think with this statement from Larry Fink, it actually becomes a safe bet. I think I can do a money-back guarantee to certification. But I think also if you explore it a little bit more in value, they say different things, the B Corps, what does it bring? And you'll hear 3 stories today, and then they're probably going to say something different than what I'm saying. But what I always hear is, number one, it helps us sort of safeguard the mission. It locks the mission that this is what we're striving for. This is our North Star. And it helps you sort of focus on that. Then it's a very, if I can get the next slide, Marina, then it's a very strong internal catalytic effect in the culture. That sort of aligning purpose and strategy makes us even prouder than we can be. It is a pride of being a part of the company. It is a great signal to attract people who want to work for us, but it's also a motivation for continuous improvement. Because when you start saying, hey, how can I compete to be best for the world, and suddenly a new sort of list of things you might actually want to put into your business model starts arising. And I can hear that also from the B Corp saying, whoa, there are new things here that we could also, and you have to choose, of course, which are the right ones to do. And then I hear a lot about how the impact business models and learning, inspirational, innovational drive. There are a lot of big companies in the B Corp movement that are especially interested in learning from and co-developing with the startups, because that's new energy, new ways, new lines of thinking. So building partnerships and access to collaboration that can grow your own brand. And then I think what I really see confirming now is the frame of reference for investors. B Corp certification does make your company more relevant. We have the first equity investment firms in Sweden that are looking at certification at the moment for themselves, but also for the portfolio. The Danish sovereign wealth fund Vækstfonden, they have invested in 4 B Corps, and they're looking at using the B Corp scheme as B impact assessments as a pre-screening validating tool for loans and investments. And we see Lemonade in the US as the most successful IPO in the beginning of last year. So in that sense, I think the investors have spotted that there is something there in impact, and they need to be able to measure it so that they have a set of tracks that they can follow, not just the money, but also other things. So then there are many different things, but I think this one, especially for startups, is really relevant because it makes you more interesting and more and stronger in that sense. And to finalize, do I really need to? Well, the ticket to ride, it's a B Corp certification, and that means that you're willing to measure your environmental and social impact with as much rigor as the financial. It means that you have to meet standards. I can hear, if you take the next one, I think I brought too small. Yeah, this is Alejandro saying, hey, it's not, it's actually, even though we were a very young company and we didn't have our business model all figured out, this was a very important defining moment for us. And I think the next one also is another entrepreneur, Scandinavian, a Nordic fragrance company. And as they were saying, there's a hell of a lot of difference between thinking you do good and actually being able to prove it. So that process of going through someone looking at you is a learning journey, not only a question of sort of stamping, but also learning and thinking about. And then you need to prioritize afterwards, what do I want to do something about? So that process is an extra management friend actually for a company that's looking to think about what it is you want to do. So if I sum up and sort of end this, for me, it's a immensely exciting time to be driving this movement. I think we're at a tipping point. It's always made sense to me, but of course it's sometimes nice also to be a part of something that is a success. And I think it's even more meaningful these days because we're all the time reminded that the work towards an inclusive and equitable regenerative economic system is important. And this is my invitation to you. I can change my own DNA, and I can change the couple of companies that I'm investing in, and I can maybe change a few crazy friends who think this is cool. But if we put our forces together, then we can change and transform the economic system. And I think that's where we really have to sort of move from individual businesses that are really good and to something that's much more of a movement, a force for redefining imperatives for the system that we want to live in, and that we want our kids and our grandkids to grow up in and inherit. So thank you, Marina, for allowing me to rumble a little on the things that I care strongly about.
Thank you so much, Nille. Thank you for sharing. That's perfect. That gives us some time to prepare for the workshop. I would like to wrap up and share one thing. It's not a secret, but it's something that I've learned only by joining the community, and I think that this might be useful for others to know. As you know, once you're certified and you share this value, I mean, you need to be accountable to these values. So that means you also want to do business with people that share these values, because that makes sense, right? If you're a big corporation or a startup, well, if you're a big corporation and you have become B Corp certified, you can only have suppliers, or it's not a must, but I guess, but you need to have suppliers that can hold to that standard for your numbers to turn up well in the certification. And also you need all your employees to know about the nuances of being in a B Corp business versus in a normal business. So what that means for you is that B Corps do business with B Corps, and if you are in the impact space and you look at the logos that Nille shared, those are all the big impact brands that we know most of them are B Corp certified, and traditional corporations are joining the B Corp movement, which means that if any of you ever dreams of becoming a supplier to a big corporation, that's that might even be a must, and it takes time to certify. So it's good to start now. And also, if you want to ever work for a B Corp, it's great to be B Corp certified and be part of the movement. So I'm just sharing it because I want to share this quote from Buckminster Fuller, which is, to change something, don't fight existing reality, create an alternative that makes the current model obsolete. So to really transform the economy, we can break our heads trying to figure out how and get very helpless and upset because it feels impossible. How do we change the economy and stop climate change and so on? But really what it is about is to be creative and be like entrepreneurs are, which is create alternatives and make the old models obsolete. And the B Corp is doing it with a community of impressive, brilliant minds and hearts. So I believe that, let's not reinvent the wheel and unite forces and bring our diversity into the movement. So that's why we created this event. I hope you have now heard about it, and our startups in Stockholm and in Scandinavia are all informed now, and they can start, hearing more from the startups. Great. Okay, so we're going to go into breakout rooms, and we are going to use the first 3 to 5 minutes to just introduce yourself, just saying your name and what brought you to that specific room, and also, of course, to our event today. Why are you here today, and why did you join the breakout room you joined? We will have 3 breakout rooms because we have 3 startups that are, as I said before, the pioneers. So the best to ask to for advice or for just their experience. And then once you have all checked in and everybody has and feels familiar with who is in the room, then we can go into storytelling. So then the word goes to the startup founders that will share you the story in a very informal and heart-to-heart way. This is not a pitch. This is not a presentation to try to tell you anything or convince you. This is just like their personal stories. Why did they join a B Corp? Like, what happened? Like, how did they cross their path, and why did they make that decision? Like, we are just genuinely curious, and we don't want them to use I mean, you can use slides, but the idea is that to be unintentionally just sharing what happened to you, so that we can learn from it and take what's relevant for us as startups. So how we're going to do that is that we're going to use threads. So they will share their stories, and for about 20 minutes, you will just listen to them with intention of picking one of the threads, which you now can pick. So I'm just gonna zoom in because it's not working with the screen sharing. And nope, it's really not working for me. Sorry. Yes, so I will read the threads, and you need to interpret the threads the way it makes sense to you. There is no right and wrong way to interpret this thread. This is where you're at in your journey. It will speak to you in a way that it makes sense to you. So there is no right and wrongs. One thread is about process. We have pivotal points. We have application. We have taking change to scale. We have question, like key questions. Yeah, when things just came together, specific theme, specific participatory leadership pattern, and principles. And then we have challenge encounter and how they were overcome. So those are threads. There is a little description of them. I will share the slide before we go into breakout rooms. Well, all you need to do now is to just pick one. I'm sorry that the slide looks like this. But what I would like to invite you to do is to pick one of them. Those are those are threads or points that every story in the world has. So we want to just break the story apart down in a way that makes sense. So can you read the slide? Can you all read the slide? You can unmute yourselves. Now we can go into interactive mode. You can all unmute yourself and interact with me. Does everybody see the slide?
It's extremely hard to see it, and we see kind of your camera and your editing mode.
Yes, I'm editing the slide just to, yeah.
It's fairly small text.
I will share this in
hard to see.
Yeah, I can make it bigger. I can just share it in the. Let's do this. I will stop sharing screen, and I will just share the slide in the chat. All you need to do is to just pick one of the threads, and then at the end of the event you can share what you've heard around that question that the thread represents with the startup founder and give back their story to them in pieces in small threads. Great, so if you can all download the slide and have it with you during the workshop, and while I'm doing breakout rooms, creating the breakout rooms for the next like 5 seconds, you can just read through the threads and pick the one that speaks to you the most. It doesn't have to make a lot of sense rationally, just follow your intuition, just pick one and follow that thread when you hear the story. Try to hear for that thread you're picking. Is that clear to everyone? It's very simple. And then in the end, you can share what you've heard about that thread with the startup founder. Great. Yeah, I'm now creating breakout rooms while you choose. Great, so now the rooms are open. And I will tell you how to pick the room. We have Café Bueno. We have Alejandro for Café Bueno. Maybe you can wave in the camera, Alejandro. You can join Alejandro's room if what you're passionate about is already a super mature and saturated and highly competitive market with big players that is hard to penetrate. Don't negotiate with your passion. Join us to hear how we take our passion, coffee, and we change the industry's way to look at it. from a popular and established beverage to a new raw circular material that can feed into many industries. So if this story speaks to you, please join Café Bueno's Alejandro's room. You can already join and start the workshop if you know that that's the room. Otherwise, we have Bauer. We have Suvar from Bauer. Maybe Suvar, you can wave in the screen so everybody sees you. If you would like to hear the story of how it all started with a vision to solve the problem with plastic in the ocean, to develop the first deposit app in the world with more than 250 users, and being the first B Corp company in Sweden. You will hear how our first million deal was rejected at the last minute. Now one of our potential customers sold our idea, and how we became a B Corp to fix that problem, and much more. So if this story somehow intrigues you in any way, for whatever reason, Bauer, Suvar is your breakout room. And the last one, we have Charlotte. Charlotte, can you wave in this camera for everyone? Charlotte is the founder of co-founder of Total Control, Total CTRL as the computer command, because she's inviting us to join her breakout room if you dream of disrupting an entire industry from within, and you have everything it takes, the tech, the dream team, the passion, but you still don't get taken seriously by the industry because it's so established already with big players as well. So come and join Charlotte's storytelling session. She will tell you all about how we build a Trojan horse and won credibility and respect from the industry as a startup. So I hope you already downloaded the slide in the chat and picked a thread. If you haven't, just pick one out of the top of your mind. Now we're gonna go into breakout rooms. Do you see the breakout rooms sign on your screen? Can you just pick the breakout rooms you want to join and start joining it, and have 5 minutes check-in, 20 minutes storytelling, and then 5 minutes of wrap-up where you give the story back to the speakers. Come back. They're slowly coming back.
Yes.
So should we do an introduction to start with so that we get to know each other a bit more, and then I can go on with telling the story of Total Control and the B Corp movement and how we got into that space?
Sounds great.
Perfect. So I'll just kind of moderate by kind of picking one to start introducing themselves, and then we'll continue the picking and the introductions. So if Maria, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Maria Peltokangas. I've been working with sustainability and CSR for the past 7 years. I'm based in Norway, Oslo. I run my company called Corporate Good. So I'm interested in becoming a B leader because I think that Norway needs more B Corp. Charlotte is the only active B Corp in Norway, I would say. So my mission is to get more to Norway. I have to leave at 1 o'clock because I thought the meeting was ending at 1, so I will just be able to join in a short while.
Great. Joey Lee? You're muted.
Hey, my name is Joy. I attended this workshop because I used to work in a CSR supply chain consulting firm for a couple of years. Currently, I'm a Breakout Chapter. And B Corp is still something new in our areas. So I'm basically here to listen to your stories and try to learn something.
Perfect. Matthias?
Yes, hi everyone. So I'm Matthias, and I'm fascinated by the B Corp movement, which I've been talking about and using as example of how to actually walk the talk. And I'm an innovation consultant and adjunct professor at a business school in breakthrough and disruptive innovation.
Cool. Michael. We're not able to hear you. Let's see.
Better now?
Yeah,
Yes.
there we go.
Yeah. Hi, Michael Zillion, call myself Captain Future, and I became aware of B Corps when I met Anthony Upwards 5 years ago and started becoming the first explorer of his sustainable business canvas. Yeah, so. Yeah, and I've been participating in that sphere since then. So.
Great. So then you have some knowledge about everything.
Yeah.
Captain Future. So Fidel, if that's the right way of pronouncing your name.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
So, is it just an introduction?
Yep.
Okay, cool. My name is Fidel Bisore I'm joining from Kigali, Rwanda. Professionally, I am a management consultant. I work with a company called the Challenges Group. We provide two services. One is advisory services to companies. Second is program implementation. We work in 5 African countries: Rwanda, Uganda, Zambia, Malawi, Ghana, Ethiopia, and the UK. That's me professionally. Personally, I'm a trained civil, environmental, and geometric engineer who is interested into clean tech and environmental related stuff. And yeah, I'm just starting my startup, which is all about innovation and creativity. That is why I'm joining this call. Thank you.
Perfect. Marina?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mirna.
Mirna. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mirna person. I live in Sweden. I am originally from Mexico, and I just started my company. I didn't know anything about this B Corp until right now. I just got an invitation from Marina, and I thought it was interesting. But I actually, it goes along with my own goals, the things that I want to do with companies here, at least in Sweden to begin with. Before I was engaged in politics for the last 3-4 years. So now I'm applying the knowledge from the political side into the private side. And that's it.
Perfect. Beryl?
Hi, everyone. I'm Beryl. I just graduated from KTH's Innovation Management Program with a thesis focused on impact investments. And alongside, I was working at Norquen's Impact Accelerator to select impact startups and then help them succeed. Great to be here. I've heard B Corp during my thesis investigations, like what is out there to measure like frameworks. So super interested in the topic. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll shortly introduce myself, but I've been asked to tell the story of what we do and also why we decided to be a B Corp and become part of this movement, and what it actually has helped us with as a startup. Just a short introduction into me and what I do. I have over 20 years of experience from the food industry. Yes, started in the food industry when I was 12. So even though I'm young, I've been in the food industry for a while. I have a background within master's within land management, actually. So if you have any dispute with your neighbors in regards to property line, I can help you figure out who's right and wrong. So that's always good to know. I know how to fly drones and build bridges in 3D, but for the last 3.5 years, I've been running a technology company that's called Total Control, that works within food waste and focuses and have a vision of eliminating food waste throughout the entire value chain. So I've been asked not to have too many slides, but I always think it's good to have some visuals when I talk about the company and what we do, and also how the B Corp movement has helped us. So just let me know once you see the screen, and then I will continue just talking more about what we do and how B Corp has helped us. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So then I'll continue here, but this is kind of just a short screenshot as well about our technology and what our goal is actually to help businesses within the value chain to save time, money, and cut food waste. That's the kind of the prime 3 goals that we have. And our story before founding the company actually started when we worked in grocery stores and hotels and restaurants. And we spent a lot of time walking the aisles of the grocery stores, looking for food that was about to expire or had expired, often ending up with a lot of food, edible food, that we just had to waste because of the expiration date. So I was one of the guys and girls that walked the aisles every day, spent a lot of time and money doing that, and just saw a tremendous amount of food being wasted. And one of the things that we decided to do after getting this first-hand experience was figure out, okay, how could we improve such a routine? How can we make sure that we actually sold the food prior to it being expiring? How can we make sure that the love, the energy, the resources behind producing food actually brought value to somebody that could eat it instead of it ending up in the garbage? So one of the things that we did just when we worked in the grocery stores, so before we even founded the company, we took a look at, okay, how can we measure how much time we actually spend on manual routines that we can efficiate, so that we can make sure that we actually have more time to sell food. And we figured out quickly that there was a gap in the process for us as employees. There was, like, when we received the food from the supplier, we just took the food and put it up on the shelves. There was no actual control over what was delivered, if there was any issues with the delivery, was there shorter date life on the products than it was supposed to have, and there was no specific control over the products. We just filled up the shelf as soon as possible because we had no time to lose. And we found out that because of this not being controlled when we received the food from the suppliers, we had no control over the inventory and no control over the expiration date. And that's why we were assigned to do routines such as checking the expiration dates every single night, doing inventory count multiple times a year. That was a frustrating pain for everybody. So there was no specific routine or no specific system in place for us as employee and managers of grocery stores and hotels and restaurants to get real-time data of the inventory and also the product expiration dates. So that was a huge pain that we saw when working in the industry. And that pain resulted in, of course, into waste. So we wanted to make sure, okay, how can we change this traditional way of working? How can we utilize technology in a way where we get that control? We get notified prior to things expiring. We get the possibility of selling the products for full value instead of wasting them. So that was our frustration, our pain, and our kind of passion to fix when we worked in these industries. And then, as mentioned, we started looking into, okay, the time issue was one thing that we were frustrated about, that we spent a lot of time doing manual routines during our day-to-day operations. But we also learned more about the food waste problem. We saw just a small fraction of the problem when we worked in the food industry. But once we figured out like how big the problem really was, we wanted to tackle it. And as you guys know, 1/3 of all the food that we produce every year is wasted. And that's a lot of food. And that is equal to over 1.1 trillion euros annually. That is literally just wasted. And we saw this was a huge problem, not only for the food industry in general and the economics behind it, but it also was hurting the planet. So the food waste is by far the biggest and the worst pain for the environment that we currently have, because it includes all of the energy that it takes to produce food, all of the distribution, the transportation. It's so much involved within the food waste problem. So that's kind of why we started embarking on tackling food waste as a problem. And luckily enough, we got people with us when we started the company 3.5 years ago. We had customers before even starting the company. So this is our first customers. It's an online retailer that wanted to get control over their food inventory in their warehouse. They had no control, no expiration dates were kind of tracked, and they wasted a lot of food. So we helped them get control over their inventory and increase their profits, save them time, and cut their food waste. So that's just short about kind of what we do. Our goal is a future without food waste, so that everybody has food to eat, and that we can just make our value chain more sustainable. And to do that, we definitely believe that we have to create a more circular economy, a more circular supply chain. And that means that we have to plan better, buy and use food smarter. So just to give you an example, we started in the food industry in general, and now we've narrowed out into the hospitality market, where we help employees of restaurants and hotels and cantinas get control over their food inventory and reduce food waste and make time and money. So as you see here, what they do currently is manual, inconvenient, and inflexible. It's a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of pen and paper, and we help them digitize. And as you can see here, there's a lot of time and food being wasted due to these inefficiencies in the industry. And if you have experience within the food industry, you may you see that there's a lot of traditional way of working. So there's still a lot of pen and paper and spreadsheets. And if you don't have experience from the food industry, you may think that the industry is more innovative than it really is. But I'm here to tell you it's lagging behind in innovation, that's for sure. So our goal is to help this guy. You probably know him, Gordon Ramsay. He's kind of known for being angry and frustrated. So we want to help him become a happy chef and restaurant owner. And that's our goal, to help him save time, make more money, and prevent food waste. So we've created an inventory system. It's the greenest inventory system ever. And it helps our customers just cut food waste by 20% within using the system within 1 month. So we've gotten great results in regards to our impact of food waste, and that helps them save the time and make more money and save money, which is our main goal. So I'm not going to take you through too much of the slides. I'm going to jump now over to why we decided to do B Corp. And then these are just some of, I can also forward some of the presentations after. But one of the things that we wanted to do when dealing with the food industry is that we had to have some sort of leverage. We had to be different than others within this space. In the food industry, usually the grocery chains have a lot of power. They want to innovate and create their own solutions. They want to be the ones that kind of control the data within the food space. So to set ourselves apart, we knew from the very start that we had to leverage the fact that we are sustainable. We're the sustainable side of things. We make an impact. And we had to build credibility. We had to prove our expertise. We had to prove our technology. And we had to build a brand around what we actually did. So our focus was from the very start, how can we cut food waste, make a big impact both on the financial and the societal side of things. So we decided to become a B Corp a year ago. And then it took about so we 1.5 years ago. So it took about a year to go through the B Corp process. Also, it was some delays due to COVID, of course. But the reason why we decided to do this is because we wanted also to be certified and have a proven stamp of approval that our business actually makes sense both on a business, from a business view and from an impact and societal view. And B Corp was one of the one of the kind of the certifications that could help us get that credibility, along with other awards and so on. It also helps us with sales. So having kind of the B Corp stamps says to our customers, okay, these are people that actually make an impact financially and impact-wise. They have been checked so much from the certification process that they have their stuff in order. And they are, it kind of shows them that we have control. And it also helps within the investor space, because this is a form of due diligence for the investors. So if they see that we're a B Corp certified company, they can say, okay, they've actually been through the process of all of the paperwork, all of the investigation about the company. So this is a company that actually we don't have to do that much DD on, because that's already been done. And as mentioned earlier as well, it gives us great insight into what we need to improve on internally, but also what type of partners we want externally. So who can we work with in the future that actually are B Corps themselves, that has the same values, the same control, the same certification, been through the same certification as us, so that we know that they're kind of trustworthy and aligned with what we want to do and how we want to create the future moving forward. So that's been extremely important for us. The process took, as mentioned, about a year. We had to spend a lot of time doing it, but it prepared us for everything moving forward. So this was a way of also improving what we had to kind of communicate to our investors and our internal team, our board members, and so on. And it gives us leverage moving forward, marketing-wise, sales-wise, but also when building the team and getting the best people and partners involved in what we're trying to build in the future. So that is kind of just a short summary of what we do and why and how we entered this space. I definitely encourage like every startup to be certified, because it takes you through a process as a startup that ensures that you have control over your papers. You kind of are tested in a lot of different things. You're able to make sure that you have the policies in order, the financials, you can measure your impact. It gives you a leverage that not a lot of other startups have, because in most cases, startups are fairly chaotic. And this puts you in a structure that helps you grow faster. So I think that's extremely beneficial. I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll get back to you guys. Any questions or anything that you guys are wondering about the process or what we're doing and how we're approaching this moving forward as well?
I have a question. When you shared the story of how you actually started, how did you like approach the problem in the beginning? Did you have this issue yourself that the food expires and you were bothered by it, or how did you come across to the problem?
Yeah, so it was definitely first-hand experience from working in the industry. And what I actually did before we started digitizing what we've done now is that I worked as manager in a grocery store, and I took pen and paper, wrote down the products and the expiration dates in a notebook, so that when other people came to work, they were able to see, okay, this product expires, let's move it to a marketplace or somewhere where people see it and are able to purchase it instead of it going to waste. So that was the manual way of fixing the problem at the very start, and it actually worked. We were able to waste less and sell more food, and then this journey just has been digitized and innovated throughout the years.
Yeah, thank you.
Charlotte, this is Matthias. Could you share with us what was the hardest part of the B Corp certification process? Because as a startup, you have so much on your plate normally, that spending a lot of time, I suppose, with my lack of knowledge at the moment, going through a certain degree of due diligence means a lot of paperwork as well, and things which ultimately are not really helping you move up the ramp.
Yeah, agree. It takes time, so that's something that everybody should be aware of. That it takes time, and depending on how much control you have from the start before you even start the process, it takes less time if you have your papers in order from the very start. But in most cases, you have to create new documents like policies to make sure that they are in order. You have to have, I would say it's good to have one person from your team dedicated to doing the process. In our case, we currently have a team of 17 people, but in our case, it was I that did the process. And the process was a lot of papers that were sent in. And then we got feedback on the papers and what we needed to improve on or what was lacking and so on. And so it was a back and forth process with the B Corp team to ensure that we have they understood the documents and that we had the right documents in place. So it takes time. And I don't have the number in regards to how many hours I spent on that. But I think for our sake, we were fairly lucky because the company name is Total Control. So we have somewhat of control in our documents as well. So it was fairly easy for me to send over what we already had. And then we just had to do some additional work because we were lacking in some areas.
Can I add a very quick follow-up question, Charlotte, just to get an order of magnitude of the time involved? You said it took you a year, and would that be 20% of your time, 30% of your time, 50% of your time? Where would you?
I would say it was a kind of a strange situation for us because it was during COVID times. So we didn't get the feedback back from the B Corp as soon as possible and vice versa. I would say 20% of your time, not more than that. There were some meetings and a lot of documentations back and forth, but 20% of your time, that I wouldn't say more than that.
Thank you. Great.
Hi, my question is about supplier chain management, because when we first introduced CSR to our place, the most the issue is about suppliers, how to manage them to have more compliance. So what about B Corp? So do you have any requirement for your suppliers because they are more remote, not in the same legal framework, etc.? Thank you.
So one of the things that we are doing more and more now after we got the B Corp certification ourselves is to focus on partners and customers that are actually B Corp themselves. Just to kind of build on the movement and build on the framework that these are actually people working towards the same goals, the same business future that we would like to see. So that's what we intend to do, and the learnings that we've taken from this process as well. Like, we want to be part of the movement because we think this is the way to go, and that means that we have to have some sort of standards for what kind of suppliers and partners and customers we work with as well. As far as Norway, there's not a lot of B Corps here, and we're the first Norwegian startup to become a B Corp, and there's just one more B Corp from Norway. So it also limits some of the areas or the customers that we can take in that part of the world. But we encourage everybody within the Nordics to become B Corps, because if you're going to be part of like the green shift and the SDG goals and everything, you have to kind of build a credible, viable proof that you're actually doing something. And I think the certification is one of those proofs, saying that you're actually not just talking about it, you're actually proving that you're doing something with it.
Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. Lauren just wrote me, so I know that she's here at least. I don't know if she's not able to speak, but maybe, I don't know, Suva, if you're just telling us your story, that would be wonderful.
Awesome. I don't know, Vinod and Shani, should you just tell me a little bit about you guys before I start my story, or?
Sure. Hi, I'm Vinod. I'm the Strategic Initiatives Lead at Startup Grind. I'm also a business growth consulting, and I run my own consulting firm.
Thanks. Shani, are you there, or?
Yeah, hi, I'm Shaneshwar. I'm from India, and I'm running a business. I'm a distributor in industrial automation, and I'm searching for new opportunities for in e-commerce business right now. Searching a good product for e-commerce.
Awesome. And I think, Lauren, you said she wasn't there, so I could then, Nille, you want to say something, or should I just?
Yeah, I mean, I have had a lot of time to talk about who I am, so but and I know that Lauren is actually at the moment doing a lot of different things, but also looking at writing about the B Corp movement in the Nordics. So it's great that if she's not able to speak, then she's here listening.
Awesome.
But we are here to hear you, Suva, and your story. And
and I mean, thanks a lot, guys, for picking this room. Just so you notice, it could be that my kids come in the background, so that you know they're with me at the work today. But yeah, so I will just a little bit regarding how everything started, how the vision with Bauer started, and then quite go in a little bit about how the journey with the B Corp started, because it wasn't that we actually saw or learned anything about B Corp. It was more one of our customers or potential customers that actually told us about Bauer, and that is how the journey started. So so Bauer actually started back in 2015, and prior to that was that I had a vision. And an idea of how can we actually solve the huge amount of plastic bags in the oceans. And the thing was that I had a reusable bag. I had a reusable bag, which I always forgot. And the thing was that I thought, why not having a deposit system where I can come back with all of my reusable bags and just leave it and get my deposit fee back. Because here in the Nordics, we're quite good on the deposit system for PET bottles and can. So I wanted to introduce that for reusable bags as well. So in the beginning, in 2015, you're quite new, you just have a vision and you think that you solve a huge problem for the grocery stores and they will just hop on. But the thing was that they gain a huge amount of money of selling plastic bags. And it is their greatest margin, selling plastic bags. So when introducing such a solution in the beginning for the companies, they were like, yeah, it's a good thing, but you know that we're earning a lot of money, so this won't be possible for us to actually go using reusable cotton bags instead. So as an entrepreneur, you just go back and see how it could be solved. So I would say, like, keep the story short, we pivoted a couple of times until we found the solution which made it digital. Our solution that we're having today that makes it possible for us to give all type of products a deposit value. So, because everyone today is talking about the circular economy, but let us be honest, there is no circular economy if we're not able to give all the products that we produce a value so that they are either brought back and reused or recycled. So so with that in mind, we launched in 2018, and prior to that, as wrote also in the introduction, was that, I mean, before, I think it was like an hour before our first deal, the customer called us and saying that, guys, sorry, but we have to cancel everything. And it was our first deal, and we had a quote of 100,000 euros for 1 year. And it was like, yeah, we were so happy of signing it. But 1 hour, as I mentioned before the deal, they just called, said, sorry, guys, we have to cancel everything. And the reason for that was that it was news coming up in the newspaper saying that the plastic that was collected here in Sweden was sold to, I think it was sold to Lithuania or so, and it got burned and not recycled. And so the company said that, sorry, but so our CEO are saying that we are not able to promote consumers to go and recycle with your app if it's not recycled and it's got burned. So we were like, shit, I mean, couldn't this news just come like 2 hours later and 1 hour prior to our meeting? But anyway, I mean, in one sense, I would say it was good anyway, because it would have affected us, I would say, much worse if the news came after our release in the beginning. So as an entrepreneur, you just keep on fighting, keep on going. It's obstacles all the time. So I mean, we overcome that. Instead, half a year later, we signed with our first customer, Procter & Gamble. And we have continued from that. And the thing was that when launching with Procter & Gamble, Mondelez got to know about us. So a person in Mondelez said that, guys, we're interested in your solution. And this person was actually sitting in, if I'm not wrong, he was sitting in the beginning in the board of B Corp. And he said that, I'm sitting in the board, and I think that it would actually give you a huge value of joining the B Corp. And we were like, yeah, but we haven't heard about B Corp. You know, we here in Sweden, we have fair trade, the Green Swan, and so on. But B Corp was very new for us. And this is back in 2019. And so we said, like, yeah, if we're gonna make sure that Mondelez is joining us, so and this is actually something good for us, and we can actually grind a little bit deeper in the, how do you say, sustainability, impact, and be the force for good, and actually have it on paper, I would say, because everything as a startup, you're just working and you don't always print everything on a paper. So we thought this could be actually a good way for us to structure everything. So in 2019, we began the everything, and I would say it was quite time consuming. It was quite big, a lot of questions, very, even though we as a company have, I mean, our business model and everything is sustainable, it was still a lot of questions, and it wasn't easy questions. But I would say that after we accomplished everything, it was I would say a couple of times back and forth. I mean, the B Corp people, they are really, really good people on helping it out. So if you have any questions, or because what happens is that you collect points, and in order to become a B Corp company, if I'm not wrong, you have to have like 82 points or so. And if you have like 60 points or whatever, they are like helping you out, like in order to like have you understand these questions, or are you able to maybe answer this question in order to gain more points, and so on. So they're really good of helping you. And I would say that one of the things that have helped us a lot is both in the discussions with these big companies of being a B Corp has had a huge value, but also internally in sense of, I would say, more on structuring, on how to follow up with our employees and so on. Because I usually say to to customers when they ask like, what is B Corp? I usually say that you have the Green Swan and Fair Trade and so on. They usually focus on your product, but B Corp focus not only on your product, but you as a company, how you handle your employees, who is sitting on your board, how many women do you have in your board, how many do you have any program for your employees to be a shareholder of your company, and so on. So they focus not only on your product, but also on what you're selling, what you're doing as a company, how you handle everything from the beginning to the end of your company. Every part, every little part, the B Corp is actually going through, and it's also helpful for you as a company to understand and get a grip of everything within your company. So it has been a huge value for us, I would say. And I would say I will leave it for there and leave for more question from your side, guys.
If no one else has questions, I have tons of questions, Suva, to you. Well, many different things. One thing, of course, is all that thing about value. But when do you start a B Corp journey? Do you start it from the beginning, or is it should you do it a little bit later? That's one thing. Second thing, one thing that you've changed, if anything, where you think this was actually something in terms of change. And third, how do you, because you're on a great mission to change something, how do you also not just change the big multinationals that you're working with, not just change the way that they're depositing and thinking about the packaging as having a certain value, but you also talk about how do you run your company with them? Do you get that occasion also to sort of influence the big players? So 3 different types of questions.
Yeah, so I mean, we could have I would say the reason, actually, once again, it was Mondelez pushing us forward to that, and if it weren't for them, we wouldn't probably have done it, because as a startup, you have lack of resources, and it was quite time consuming, I would say. So in our end, it was quite valuable because we had a customer saying that, guys, in order to become a supplier to us, you have to be a B Corp. Even though Mondelez isn't, I don't know if they have joined it now or not, but even though they weren't a B Corp, they wanted us to be. In one sense, it's quite good. It has to start somewhere. So I would say that probably that if it weren't for Mondelez, we would have done it a little bit later. And when it comes to like the change in how we have worked, once again, I mean, there were a lot of things within, because even though when you become a B Corp, you have to have a certain things as a structure, you have to document things, you have to have employee workshops and talks and so on. So all of these things has to be documented, which is good for you to become a company, because as a startup, you usually like, you want to go fast and you don't always focus on like having employee talks and those type of things. You're like, as long as we're going forward, everything is good. But in order to become a like stable firm and a company and a long lasting company, you have to have the groundwork done as well. So the B Corp helps you out with having that structure. So I would say in that sense, we have changed our work on in order to have document and have our workings and have our meetings with the employees and so on. So in that sense, they have changed our work and I think we had a couple of questions in the chat. How big was your team when you started the process, and what was the biggest challenge? Yeah, so when we started the B Corp, we were actually 2 people. It was me and my sister. So I'm a little bit more of a visionary, and I'm not that structured, I would say. So because I remember that I started the application for B Corp, and I saw that, shit, this is quite time consuming, and I'm not that patient of a person. So it was really great to onboard my sister. So she focused on that. She's very structured. So we are actually complementing each other in a really good way. So she started and did that, and we were 2 people, and she could actually focus on the application and the meetings with the B Corp team. And I would say the biggest challenge is sometimes is the time, I would say, as a startup anyway. Is like, even though my sister was focusing on the application, I mean, you get a really good help from the B Corp side. So all the challenging questions, you solve it in one way or another. But the most challenging thing, I would say, would be time, because as a startup, you don't have your lack of resources, and me and my sister have to do everything within the company. So still, you have to put on time for the application. So I would say the most challenging thing is actually pursue both with the application, but also have time for the other crucial thing that has to be done within the company. Then we had another question here. Did you meet any internal resistance? And if yes, how did you overcome that? I would say, even though we were a small company, me and my sister in the beginning, today I would say today we are 12 people in the company. So in the beginning, it was actually my sister, because she's like laser focused. So when she does something, she's like, what is the result? What is the outcome of it? And I'm a little bit of a visionary person. So I'm like, yeah, if we have this, we will be the first. It will be gaining us a huge value in the future. And she's a little bit more, if she can't see the result or why she's doing it, she's like, why should we spend time on this and when we can do other things? So it was a little bit resistance from her side in the beginning, but as a CEO, you can always, push towards that. Even though it's always good, even though you're a CEO, you have to have the company, but sometimes you can just, especially as when the person is your sister, you can always, as a brother, say, please do this for me. So of course, I think due to the time consuming, and if you're a bigger company, you will probably involve other people as well. So it would be good to involve the people in your company and say why you need the company's, the employees' help, because you will probably involve a lot of people within the company if you're a bigger company. So it's good to involve them, the different departments and so on within your company. When it comes to another question here, how about investors? Is B Corp key for them? I would say no, not at the moment. Norskin here in Sweden was actually quite surprised, and they were like, wow, are you a B Corp? We are thinking about applying for the B Corp. How is it done? How has it helped you? And so on. But I would say in order to seek investment, it hasn't done nor bad or good in order to make the investment from the investment side.
So Suvar, I had a question for you.
Yes.
From a strategy standpoint, do you think there's any part of your strategy that changed as a result of you going through the B Corp process?
I would say a little bit towards what Nille mentioned before, like the B Corp will help, or actually helped us, like the vision and the North Star, so that it's quite easy, especially as a startup, if you are pivoting a lot of times, and maybe like 1 year later, you look back and see that, oh shit, I started of finding a solution which was good for the world. And now we have pivoted to a solution that might not be that good for the world, but we focus more on how to get the revenues.
Sure.
But if you have the B Corp, like the North Star, or how actually when we started this company, what was the aim, what was the goal, looking back on it, that is really helpful, and because I think that there most of the companies that are operating today also, I don't think, or I hope that they didn't start their company of being bad for the world. But what happening is that when people are pivoting or see that they can gain more money of doing another thing or whatever, that's what's happening, and they're actually are selling products or whatever, which is bad for the world because they're gaining money. And I think that by having the B Corp on your side, and because after I think it's 2 years or so, you're getting a revision. So they're looking into, okay, are you still a B Corp company or not? So that you stick to what you actually said and what you did in the beginning. So that is, I think, a good way of not pivoting too much, at least from the goal, and being a B Corp as a good company for the world.
Great, thank you.
Do your employees know they are B Corp, Suva? Because it was only you two when we first started, but today 12 people. Do they all know what B Corp is, or?
I would say everyone knows that we are a B Corp. I would say that they don't know in details. So what we have planned now to the Q3 is to have a workshop where we can mainly go into more deeper in like what is the B Corp, why have we joined it, and so on.
Great. So a quick time check. We have another 2 minutes, so we probably have time for another question.
So when I look in the eyes of a B Corp leader, I think for me, the most inspiring is always asking them, why? Why are you in business? And for many business leaders, then the eyes go, why are you in business? What is why are you here?
I mean, I love solving problems. I would say the feeling that you get, first of all, the bad feeling that you get that you have a challenge here, but the feeling that you get by solving the problem, I haven't got it from anywhere. So I would say that is what I love about having a company, because I mean, now at the moment we are now in an investment round, and I would say that that is not fun at all. You get a lot of, I mean, they usually say that 9 out of 10 investors, or I would say 99 or 98 of 100 investors are like crashing your business model or everything. So you're, I mean, quite beaten up of all of the investor talks. So there is not glory of being an entrepreneur or being a startup or whatever, but the kick and the feedback that you're getting from all of our users, for instance. I mean, we are getting huge amount of feedback from our users saying, guys, you're doing such a good thing for the world. For the first time, my 5-year-old is using the app in order to recycle, and that is boosting us. And also the kick of solving the problems, I would say, is making us coming to work every day and having Bauer in top of mind.
So make us the investors next time. I mean, you have a look at the some of the B Corps that are asking the users or the clients to buy into. I mean, Simple Feast, the Danish company,
Yeah.
They raised 2 million euros in I think 24 minutes from individual. Small individuals. So it was just a small percentage, but really important in that sort of sense of ownership. It might be a different talk you have with your
Definitely.
users. Let us talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the smile that comes on the face, Vinod, when you look at the founder that's talking about I love that. It's for me, the main, if I take one thing away from my life in the B Corp movement, it's there are 4,000 of these, and it's so amazing. Thank you, Suva, for sharing.
Thank you guys as well for listening.
Thank you, Suva. That was very inspiring.
And thank you for the patience to the little one. Who is it behind you, Suva?
Yeah, it's my son and my daughter. They're like, yeah, when are we going to eat?
Now.
Very soon.
You guys.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm taking an account. and taking into account the amount of water, electricity, and carbon dioxide that generates the whole process to reduce the impact.
Okay, nice to meet you both, Pratik and Eric. And Clara, of course. Well, since we're a small group, just feel free to interrupt along the way. I'm just gonna tell my story briefly and why we decided to become a B Corp. Basically, yeah, well, I'm from Colombia, and the same as my two co-founders, Juan and Camilo. We were doing our bachelor's in international business in London, yeah, some years ago, and most of our friends were from Sweden, and we realized how different the perception was of the same thing, coffee, depending on the background of people, and we thought that was pretty interesting. They saw it from a very, let's say, first, of course, their caffeine fix, but then like as a symbol of family and coziness and taking a break, like, you know, fika. And we saw it more from the point of view of, well, this is a plant that serves as a currency of our country's economy. And we also grew up seeing the ugly side of it, which is the farmers not being able to even cover the costs, while a coffee shop owner in London is filling in their pockets. So we always talked about this with our Swedish friends, and they always told us, yeah, maybe you should do something about it. People in Sweden really care about these things, but yeah, we don't have access to all of this information, or at least not from some Colombians that grew up seeing this. And then, well, in our last year of university, we were assigned to make a business plan in an entrepreneurship course, and we did. And well, and throughout, like, during that research of making the business plan, we started thinking of how can we actually, or not how, but before how, like, why is it that farmers are historically being fucked, and there is no apparent solution for it, because then there's a bunch of companies that have been priding themselves for paying 300-500% more for the market price of the farmers, but then you still see that the average age of a coffee farmer is over 50 years old, reflecting that the generational relief is not happening. So first we started thinking, well, how can we make the situation better, or why is it so bad in the first place, and how can we make it better? And then with further research, we realized that not only has a societal, like, coffee value chain doesn't have only a societal impact, but also a huge environmental impact. It actually coffee's value chain accounts for 1% of the total emissions globally. So it is not like upcycling coffee is not just a cool thing to do. It's actually an urgency. We need to start taking care of this, otherwise it's very ironic that the production of coffee and the consumption of it is actually contributing to its extinction. So in 20 years from now, it is estimated that less than 50% of the current land is going to be suitable for coffee growing. So we asked ourselves, who is going to grow our coffee tomorrow, and where is it going to grow? So then all of this research led us to understand that, okay, well, what is, like, try to think differently of what was currently being done. Instead of just paying the farmers more for marketing and selling more coffee, what can we actually do in the value chain so that the problems are solved from the root? We started looking at the other side of the value chain, which is the post-consumption waste, because we also, throughout this research, we learned that when you make a cup of coffee, you are using less than 1% of what is inside of it. And well, growing up in Colombia also allowed us to understand that coffee is not just to make a beverage. Like in Colombia, grandmothers, like even if you fall down and you get a wound, they put coffee on it. And we always thought that was weird. but it actually worked. And during our studies, then we started thinking, well, why did it actually work? What is inside coffee that provides anti-inflammatory benefits? Then we realized that, as any other plant, coffee is composed of a lot of different things that make it good. For example, antioxidants, essential fatty acids, proteins, fibers, all very good things that are not fully taken advantage of when we make a cup of coffee. So less than 1% of all of that ends up in your cup. The rest has just been treated as waste. And actually, also very ironically, when it ends up being treated as waste, being thrown into a landfill or incinerated for green energy, then that actually creates a lot of methane and CO2 emissions. So yeah, we thought, well, we need to take advantage of this wasted resource. And first, we didn't have the scientific background. So in order to do that, we needed to learn a lot. So we established ourselves in Denmark, and we started bringing coffee from Colombia. Well, when we got the approval from the Danish government to come, after reviewing our business plan, we went back to Colombia to live a couple of weeks with some farmers to actually understand more from their own point of view, what is it that is hindering their progress and getting out of the shithole. And basically we understood that, or we categorized the problems in three main pillars, which is lack of education, infrastructure, and technology. To if they get paid 500% more for the crop, still they don't have the infrastructure to do much. They don't have the technology to do anything with that, and they don't have the education to. If you ask a coffee farmer how much kilos, like the most basic question, how many kilos do they produce in a year? They all do like this. I don't know. So how can you run a business without knowing the financials? And that's the thing, they don't see that as a business. They see it as, I don't know, that they grew up farming coffee, so that's what they do. So, okay, we took it upon ourselves, and then we actually started trading coffee directly with coffee farmers in Colombia. We brought it to Denmark and started selling it to businesses during the day. And during the night, we read every scientific paper there was on coffee and every single thing that was inside it. And then started to learn about technologies and how can we extract those things, and then finding the best health applications for it, or the highest value applications, so that we can eventually increase. First of all, well, actually, the key thing is to change the way people see coffee. When, the idea is so that when I say the word coffee, you don't think of a cup of coffee that you receive in Starbucks, but rather that you start thinking of coffee as a plant. As for example, when I say a palm, or when I say avocado, everyone thinks of the plant. And then with that plant, you can do many things. So, and in order to achieve that, then we needed to basically break down coffee in every single molecule and then find the best application for it, and then industrialize it and make a business out of it. And that is how it started, or that is the whole philosophy or reasoning behind it. If you have specific questions about what we went through, I can answer them, but if I tell you all of it, I don't think we will have enough time. So I'll stick to why we decided to become a B Corp from the start. Well, in 2016, when we arrived to Denmark, we already knew of B Corp since we were living in London, and there were some, throughout our studies, we learned about B Corp, and we thought, and after also learning a lot about certifications that we could pursue in Café Bueno, we also realized that there was a lot of greenwashing and bullshit in all of those certifications, like fair trade and all of those. So we thought, well, B Corp was a movement or a certification that actually analyzed your whole supply chain and your governance rather than only a product. And we decided to do it from the start because it actually allowed us to realize many things that we haven't thought of and then set systems to measure those. So yeah, that's why. And then of course, let's say it was in my opinion, a natural step for us, because we were trying to make a company that tried to actually solve real problems in the world, but make profit out of it. And that was something that was hard to explain. We talked with investors, and we came with all of this story that the farmers and so on, they thought that we were going to do a non-for-profit, but we were like, no, this has $1 billion behind, or in front. So B Corp was also a way to show that we are a for-profit company that cares about doing good throughout the value chain.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you said that you did the B Corp certification from the start, did you have your product already developed?
Not the one that we have in the market. We were selling coffee, yes, but as I said, like, we started selling coffee in order to finance our R&D. But then once we got the ball rolling with the upcycling, we stopped selling coffee, stopped importing coffee. But yeah, we did everything with the numbers of the coffee selling business, because all of this was in the future. Yeah. We are gonna do it again soon. And I mean, yeah, we have some products in the market, but we have a lot of others under development. The thing with B Corp certification is that you cannot talk about what you will do, but you have to use the numbers that you have. Because at the moment, for example, of the certification, we were taking into account numbers of, okay, we will run this by a refinery and this will be super efficient, and we had all the numbers. But then the evaluators told us, no, you have to use what you have, like, for the past year or so.
Yeah, I'm asking because, so we are also a biotech company and we are currently at lab stage. And so I'm wondering if, does it make a lot of difference? We are scaling up during this year. And of course, in the scale up process, a lot of the numbers change. So whether it makes sense to plan these for the future rather than do it.
I mean, if you think that they're gonna change a lot for the better, I would rather wait until that happens, but still use the impact assessment so that you can have like the impact assessment is basically the test or the questionnaire that, if you have it into account before actually starting to scale up, that will kind of serve you as a guideline for you to do certain things so that you can actually scale up in a good way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then I have another question. So how does your current business model go back to the farmers? You still, because you use upcycled coffee from the coffee shops, or you use the upcycled coffee from the coffee shops that buy like Colombian coffee, or how does it go back to the farmers, or your original question about how to improve the life and
yeah, so instead of giving them money or whatever that we can use in marketing, what we want to do is actually to set systems for them to not be poor and have a good life. So what we're doing is that we are setting up some programs that financed by our profits. Basically, we're using part of our profits and developments to take some of the technologies that we're inventing here, so that they can start upcycling some of their waste at their farms, so they can actually use for their own like energy production in the farms to make them self-sustainable, or be able to extract certain things from their waste that are a lot more valuable than coffee. And well, in 20, 30 years from now, I believe that once we have made our business model mainstream, and coffee will not be priced at a commodity price, because it will not be seen just to make a cup of coffee, but rather to cure even diseases and many things. So hopefully the price paid to farmers will be crazy high.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I also wanted to ask you something where you mentioned something about how while you were doing certifications, you noticed that a lot of things that was being told or informed in the certification were not so apt. So how did that go about with B Corp certification, where you were able to bring out something different? Could you please shed some light on that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, sure. So I remember where you spoke about like you were moving from Colombia to Denmark, and you were getting several certifications done, and while doing those certifications, you found a lot of bullshit information within the thing. So how did, like, were you able to work with your B Corp certification with different organization in revising something like that? Did you find any positive results in that direction?
Working with other certifications that B Corp.
Like how different B Corp organizations are actually working together to reform the actual guidelines for certifications that are in place, which are not so apt or not so fruitful for the economy.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it is kind of, let's say, framework by the B Lab, the whole impact assessment, and how can companies of any size or industry measure their impact. Of course, there are many other ways to measure that, and there's also other companies doing that. But the advantage of B Corp is that it's a huge existing community of both small and big companies, and they are all contributing to, let's say, continuously shaping that framework. And yeah, like throughout the questionnaires, you might find things that are not relevant to you and so on, but you can always talk with the B Corp people, and then you realize, okay, this can actually, I thought it was not relevant, but then actually if I start measuring it, that could also help our operations not be damaging for the environment or people. Does that answer your question?
I understand. It makes more sense. I
Yeah,
have a certain direction to go forward to.
Sorry?
I have a certain direction to look into.
Okay.
Like B Labs and other stuff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
I have another question. And since being certified, have you been able, or did you notice any difference towards partnerships with other B corporations, or did that give you any value in terms of partnerships?
Yeah, last year, and we're still partnered with this hotel chain, Signature Hotels, here in Denmark. And we upcycle their coffee waste into new cosmetic products that they can use throughout their whole hotels. So for example, we take their coffee grounds, extract the oil that we usually extract from coffee, and then that oil, we use it in a private label brand that then we sell back to them. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And we have actually gotten like commercial leads from the B Corp directory. Like you always ask, where did you find about us? And then they say, yeah, B Corp. So yeah, definitely you can see the value for sure. Also in cases, for example, like one of our target customers, like the body shop, for example, when we started talking with them, which they actually reached out to us, and they were also like, yeah, we know that you're a B Corp as well, so we like to talk to you.
Right. Awesome. And then maybe you can share what were your main challenges when getting the certification?
Time.
Yeah.
Because you think you're done, but then you get like an evaluator that is like evaluating your questionnaire, and of course trying to scrutinize it. So you have to provide a lot of supporting evidence, and it's just a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
resources.
Sorry?
Resources. I mean, that's it's every startup's
exactly. Time and like you don't have a lot of manpower, so
yeah. Definitely.
Hi, this is Eric. I got a lot of questions, but I don't want to, own the conversation. So, I'm from Spain, as you can tell by my surname, probably. Do you find any, any big difference between the UK, Denmark, and other countries to, work with these B Corps? Or, I mean, is there any country that helps you more and collaborates more, or not? Or is all of them are working in the same way and in the same?
I mean, I definitely see differences in working with different companies that come from different countries, but then I haven't seen necessarily a difference between B Corps in different countries. I think that's more country to country. Like, for example, ironically, we have, like, most of our business happens outside Denmark. Denmark is very difficult to penetrate, and most of our clients are actually Switzerland, France, Germany, UK, B Corp or not. Even B Corps here in Denmark are,
that's quite interesting, because in my case, it's the same situation, So I'm not part of B Corp, but I'm thinking about it. So most of my clients are outside of the UK. My office is in the UK.
Okay.
And I also got clients from Denmark, which is quite strange, right? So maybe because you are in that country, people think like, oh, they are accessible. No idea.
Yeah, people always want what they cannot have, in theory.
That's right.
Yeah. But also, just, I mean, at least when companies like other B Corps know that you're a B Corp, there's a little bit less of a barrier to start a conversation. But it's not like because you're a B Corp, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Of course.
So I guess we didn't do the thread thing.
Yeah, right. What did you choose?
The narrative thread.
Okay. You wanna share it?
I mean, but I didn't understand very well what I have to do. It says the thread of the story, people, events, stages. Like, I have to tell my story.
Or like what you got from mine, something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to think about it. Oh.
Yeah, we're back to the main room. It's fine.
Well, thank you very much for all the insights.
Of course, thank you for for participating.
Very interesting discussion. Yeah.
Thank you, Naimon.
Thank you.
See you.
See you.
Come back. We're slowly coming back.
Yes.
And I'll just ask you a question on WhatsApp if you can check that. Great, we're waiting for everybody to be back. So welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
Generally, our events are 1 hour, and so I think some people had to leave earlier because of that. They didn't, they maybe forget that some are longer. I just want to thank everybody for your participation, and I would like to wrap up by asking our 3 startup founders, what is the golden nugget they leave with from today? What is the maybe one insight that you got from in your breakout rooms? Or a reflection or realization that you got from being here today? Anybody would like to share?
Sure. Good to see like people are very interested in if they are not doing it already, like using B Corp as a guideline to make their business better and in a measurable way.
Thank you. Anybody, Sugar or Charlotte?
Yeah, at the end of the workshop, we kind of touched upon like how the requirements for partners and suppliers and so on moving forward to kind of create a more of a, just bring along people on the movement. But we also talked about the practicalities in regards to time and the certification process itself. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. Silver, what do you live with from today?
I mean, first of all, that we have so many people here and actually have the interest of the B Corp, because I mean, in the beginning, like two, 3 years ago, when we were introduced for the B Corp, not that many people knew about B Corp. We see that more and more people are actually getting to know about the logo and the interest and so on. And as I mentioned in one of the questions due to the session was that like, what was the challenges of becoming a B Corp? And I would say as a startup, it was the time, regarding the time and effort that you have to spend on becoming a B Corp. And as a startup, you have to prioritize your time. And in the beginning, it was actually my sister that did all of the application. In the beginning, she was quite resistant. She was like, "Suar, how come we want to be a B Corp? It's so time consuming. What kind of value would it add to the business?" So I would say that it is time consuming, but it is adding more and more value for the company.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I hope you had a great time, and sorry for the little delay in the beginning for the breakout rooms with the slide. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and we can continue with the B Corp conversation from here. Maybe, Nille, we can discuss some more workshop ideas about business models and impact assessment and what can you do about it if you wanted to join. How would it look like for you if you wanted to join as a startup? Yeah, otherwise, thank you everybody for joining, and see you soon. This video will be recorded and put online, so you can find it on YouTube. Thank you. And thank you to...
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Great seeing you all.
Bye.
Hi, Captain Future. Hi, Michael.
Hi, great seeing you.
Nice to see
Bye,
you.
Michael.
Bye. Bye, Mirna.
Hi, Marina.
Bye, Shani and Abdullahi. Abdullahi is actually not there, so he will be staying forever. Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nille.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thank you, Naimua. Thank you, Ivanot, for organizing, and it's always a pleasure. And Marina, we will be in Stockholm in, I think, I've just put the date, September, October, where we'll be doing a B Leader training in Sweden. So it's also a chance maybe to sort of unite some of the people in Stockholm that are interested in hearing more and sort of working on things together and doing something, maybe even with I don't know, a drink or something in physical real life.
That sounds amazing.
I'm sick and tired of this computer. I want to go across. So something that, and I think also uniting. There are now 5 B Corps in Sweden and quite a few more that are looking into B Corp certification. So starting that basis of a network of companies that can do things together.
That's amazing. Yeah, looking forward to. Hopefully we kick off something in the startup community.
Well, let's see. I mean, everything has to start somewhere. So
yes.
I have high hopes in the small businesses of changing something really significant. So thank you for having this opportunity.
Thank you.
Enjoy the holidays.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. Take care.
Hi. And I'll just ask you a question on WhatsApp if you can. Check that. Great, we're waiting for everybody to be back. So welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
generally our events are 1 hour, and so I think some people had to leave earlier because of that. They didn't, yeah, they maybe forget that some are longer. I just want to thank everybody for your participation, and I would like to wrap up by asking our 3 startup founders, what is the golden nugget they leave with from today? What is the maybe one insight that you got from in your breakout rooms? Or a reflection or realization that you got from being here today? Anybody would like to share?
Sure. Good to see like people are very interested in if they're not doing it already, like using B Corp as a guideline to make their business better and in a measurable way.
Thank you. Anybody, Sugar or Charlotte?
Yeah, at the end of the workshop, we kind of touched upon like how the requirements for partners and suppliers and so on moving forward to kind of create a more of a, yeah, just bring along people on the movement. But we also talked about the practicalities in regards to time and the certification process itself. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. Sugar, what do you live with from today?
I mean, first of all, that we have so many people here and actually of the interest of the B Corp, because I mean, in the beginning, like two, 3 years ago, when we were introduced for the B Corp, not that many people knew about B Corp. We see that more and more people are actually getting to know about the logo and the interest and so on. And as I mentioned in one of the questions during the session was that, like, what was the challenges of becoming a B Corp? And I would say as a startup, it was the time, regarding the time and effort that you have to spend on becoming a B Corp. And as a startup, you have to prioritize your time. And in the beginning, it was actually my sister that did all of the application. In the beginning, she was quite resistant. She was like, "So how come we want to be a B Corp? It's so time consuming. What kind of value would it add to the business?" So I would say that it is time consuming, but it is adding more and more value for the company.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I hope you had a great time, and sorry for the little delay in the beginning for the breakout rooms with the slide. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and we can continue with the B Corp conversation from here. Maybe, Nille, we can discuss some more workshop ideas about business models and impact assessment and what can you do about it if you wanted to join. How would it look like for you if you wanted to join as a startup? Yeah, otherwise, thank you everybody for joining, and see you soon. This video will be recorded and put online, so you can find it on YouTube. Thank you. And thank you to...
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Great seeing you all.
Bye.
Hi, Captain Future. Hi, Michael.
Hi, great seeing you.
Nice to see
Bye,
you.
Michael.
Bye. Bye, Mirna.
Hi, Marina.
Bye, Shani and Abdullahi. Abdullahi is actually not there, so he will be staying forever. Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nille.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thank you, Naimur. Thank you, Ivanot, for organizing, and it's always a pleasure. And Marina, we will be in Stockholm in, I think, I've just put the date, September, October, where we'll be doing a B Leader training in Sweden. So it's also a chance maybe to sort of unite some of the people in Stockholm that are interested in hearing more and sort of working on things together and doing something, maybe even with I don't know, a drink or something in physical real life.
That sounds amazing.
I'm sick and tired of this computer. I want to go across. So something that, and I think also uniting. There are now 5 B Corps in Sweden, and quite a few more that are looking into B Corp certification. So starting that basis of a network of companies that can do things together.
That's amazing. Yeah, looking forward to. Hopefully we kick off something in the startup community.
Well, let's see. I mean, everything has to start somewhere. So
yes.
I have high hopes in the small businesses of changing something really significant. So thank you for having this opportunity.
Thank you.
Enjoy the holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for
Hi.
joining.
Yeah, great joining.
How are you?
Can't wait to do it. How are you? Yeah, I'm good. So
Great.
doing a lot of events on Clubhouse with Bartola every